Today on Locked On Rockies, a glimpse, something we've seen before yesterday from one of the Rockies' most important players. Germán Márquez, lights out, electric, striking out multiple batters, being so efficient he even had to throw a bullpen after his start yesterday. That's per Danielle Allentuck of the Colorado Springs Gazette. How important is Germán Márquez? We continue the conversation about the starter in today's episode of Locked On Rockies.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 15th day of March in the year 2023. I am your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on your favorite streaming service or live on YouTube on the Locked On Rockies YouTube streaming service. You can hang out with Nicholas Delvo and Lux Ace here in the live chat and have your questions answered live. We're proud to be part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here, is talk about the Colorado Rockies each and every day. 5 days a week here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Your subscription, your 5-star review, you telling your buddy to go listen to the Locked On Rockies podcast helps the show a lot, and we thank you for that. Just like we thank you for making your first listen. Lux Ace, nothing to apologize for. Anytime you catch the Locked On Rockies podcast is A-OK with me. What the heck are we talking about on the Locked On Rockies podcast today? We are talking about Germán Márquez. Before we do that, I got to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com, Locked On, to get started. We'll dive into this. Lux Ace says Rockies should really sign Profar later in the show. We'll talk about Ryan McMahon a little bit as well, but I want to talk Germán Márquez. We talked starting pitching earlier in the week. We talked about the Rockies' potential ace. We talked about the Rockies' potential number one. And folks, yesterday was on full display what Germán Márquez can do. And you can't just sit there and say, oh, Paul, why are you so excited about something that happened in spring? Like, we got to wait till the regular season. We've seen him do it in the regular season. We absolutely have. And we've seen him do it here. I am really, really, really hoping that this is a sign that Germán Márquez is going to get off to a hot start. I mean, it's one start. It's one start in spring, of course. But guess what? Remember when we were worried about his hamstring? Remember when we're worried about his location? Remember when we're worried out there about the issues with Germán Márquez? He goes out and he does an outing like he had yesterday, and that is incredible. That's exactly what the Rockies need him to do. That is the Germán Márquez that will be the difference maker for the Colorado Rockies. That's the Germán Márquez that will give you a chance to win ball games. That's the Germán Márquez that is an all-star. That is the Germán Márquez that helps you go toe-to-toe with some of the best in the business. Germán Márquez's importance to the Colorado Rockies cannot be understated. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 7 strikeouts. He was so efficient, he had to go throw pitches in the bullpen after the game. That's exactly the line. That's efficiency. That's domination. The foundation for a great season for Germán Márquez and for greatness is there. He can be a great pitcher, and we saw it on display yesterday, just like we've seen it on display in certain points in the season in the past. One thing that I have always been a little hesitant with Germán Márquez is the way that he starts seasons. And he happens to have some issues sometimes where it feels like he just isn't really, he just needs a bit to get going. Last year through April and May, his ERA was above 5 and it stayed above 5 until July. It took him really that was slower than usual, and it's something that you can also go back and look at here as well. Let's take some other stats here. Germán in that time giving up 13 earned runs there in April, 22, an increase then in May to 22 last season, and then another 20 runs in June. However, he doesn't go give up 20 runs for the rest of the season. In a month after June, he finishes with 13 in July, 13 in August, 18 an uptick in September again, and then only gave up the 1 run in his final start of the year in October. If you go back to 2021 to look at the start of the season, still ERA for him above 4 in April, 4.13 in April of 21, 4 increases again to 4.91 in 2021, but then dips 2.41 in June, 3.45 in July, and then a big bump at the end of the season, a rough end of the season for Germán last year. So it looks like Germán was hopefully maybe coming out of an extended type of irregularity of some slump, and we'll hopefully see if that tightens things up again for Germán. If you're curious, he was much better at the start of the season than in the back half of the season of 2019. So that is a year you could point to in the difference there. But I'm just saying we know Germán can sometimes be a little slow out of the gate, and I'm hoping that spring and something like and starts like that will help him get things moving a little bit quicker. But that's when we see stuff like that, when we see that potential, when we see Germán pitch like that, that's why you get excited about Germán Márquez. That's what you that's what I'm sorry, I got distracted there by everything. But anyway, that's efficiency, what we saw. That's control of his pitches. That's everything that we want from Germán Márquez in an outing, especially in a get-right spring outing. Let's talk a little bit more about Germán Márquez. Let's talk about Ryan McMahon. Let's read a little bit from our friends in the Rockies media. Also look at some of your comments in the Locked On Rockies YouTube live chat where you can be. And if you subscribe to Locked On Rockies, then you're going to know when we go live, and you can be part of the live chat and ask your questions and have your comments read on the show. Before we get into segment number 2, I got to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook is your home for all the basketball action this month. I mean, it all starts soon. You know what's right around the corner. And not only that, but the NBA season, full swing, playoffs right there to the fight, the push for the playoffs. The Nuggets, of course. You know you want to go bet on the Denver Nuggets. And yeah, if you're a little hesitant, that's totally understandable. Right now, though, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 at FanDuel. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. You can also, like I keep telling you, Rockies futures, baseball futures. If you're confident in some future bets for anything across baseball, doesn't have to be Rockies related, they got you covered over there at FanDuel. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Don't miss your chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, live on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. You can go make Locked On Fantasy Baseball or Locked On Buffs, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, or Locked On Nuggets your second listen of the day. Plenty of great coverage for all the wonderful things going on, the crazy things, the absolutely mad times in Colorado sports. It's interesting that all those other podcasts have a few extra things for us to talk about, but we have lots to talk about because that's kind of one of our questions. Is the Rockies are trying to they're trying to be carving out a piece of the of the fandom, especially this summer, and in the coverage and in the world, in the know of not only in markets, the local market, but the extended market as well. And Germán Márquez is going to be a player that helps with that. We were talking about him in the first segment, but let's take a look at the Locked On Rockies live chat here. Luxay says, I agree with what you said about our rotation and about Freeland and Márquez. I agree with Márquez throwing a no-hitter, but I think Freeland can win a Cy Young. Wow. If Freeland wins a Cy Young, that would be incredible. And I think Freeland would be have to have a really low ERA. And it was Mad Max. It was Max Scherzer that Márquez outdueled. And then Brendan Kramer reminded me that I did put a jinx on Brendan Rodgers, and I said, he says, man, you talked about B-Rod being this important too, and look what you did. I blame you, Paul, so maybe I have to be a little bit careful there. But it is this is a great point by Luxace. That was a good thing, too, that came out, that B-Rod still wants to be around and engaged in the team as he recovers this season. It is a great sign for Brendan Rodgers, and hopefully maybe a good sign for the Rockies and the relationship with the Rockies as well. And Luxace also says, even though Márquez had his worst season, he still made some pretty good quality starts at home and on the road. Germán Márquez finished the season pretty darn strong. I mean, there was some the issues in September, sure, of with the it was that, but he did have a good July, a good August, but man, he just could not avoid the home run, and that just seemed to be one of his big issues, and that control, and he knows this, and he's spoken about this, and he also elaborated more about this to Danielle Allentuck here. She writes for the Colorado Springs Gazettes in her Rockies notes here. Let's read here. I feel like everything is working, Márquez said from Salone Park after his start. Today was really good. This spring, he's been focused on staying behind the ball and not dropping his fingers. He's hopeful that by keying in on that, he can hit his locations more consistently, something he wasn't able to do last season, ended 2022 with a 4.95 ERA, well above his expectations. So clearly, Márquez has a higher standard for himself, and that's a good thing for an athlete. I mean, and I think this is, again, the first real regular offseason. There's a lot of first things that the Rockies are going to benefit in this season. Again, a regular spring training, no disagreements there. They just get in. Márquez, of course, was scheduled to go to World Baseball Classic. Didn't work out there, and which huge relief that the hamstring doesn't seem to be an issue, at least at the moment. But it's just what we kind of know. To kind of put a cap on everything of Germán Márquez is that's the Germán Márquez the Rockies needs. That's the underlying factor is he needs to be a pitcher that can hit his spots, and when he is a pitcher that hits his spots, he has the capability to be incredibly efficient, keep his pitch count low, and strike batters out. I really do think that is a huge benefit for Germán Márquez. There's not anyone else in the Rockies rotation that is as good as striking out batters as Germán Márquez is. There simply is not. The Rockies' best option to have someone go up there and beat you on the mound instead of having the defense do it, which is totally fine, is Germán Márquez. He is the one that has to be the most precise with his location because of his style of pitching. Kyle Freeland also, and Senza need to hit their spots, of course. That's every pitcher does. That's a pretty basic thing. But their thing is they are pitching to contact. They are hoping that what they're doing is going to induce weak contact and things of that nature. Whereas Germán Márquez is going after you. Germán Márquez is gonna have those starts where he's going to get the most strikeouts. He is the guy that wants to go out and strike out more than 5 batters a game. That's what we want Germán to do, is strike out 5+ a game. Ideally. Is it going to happen every time? No. But a great Germán Márquez strikes out 5 batters a game. Let's go back here and look at Germán's stats in 19, or let's go back to 18 here. Here he started off again a slow April, but he was striking out. He struck out in it's not the totals, but anyway, 48 strikeouts in September, 53 strikeouts in August, 27 in July, 39 in June, 27 in May. This is a guy that was striking out a ton of batters, 8 batters, 6 batters, a back-to-back, a 10 strikeout game, a 13 strikeout game, back-to-back 11 strikeout starts for Germán Márquez as that team was getting ready to go and into the postseason. This is a guy that is going to hit 1,000 strikeouts this season. If you want to take a look at how many strikeouts that Kyle Freeland has on his career, Kyle Freeland is sitting at 641 strikeouts. And if you want to see about Senzatella and how many strikeouts that he has for the Rockies, he's at 447. So I think you kind of get my point. You see my point here, where Márquez is the Rockies' best strikeout pitcher, and it's not even close. And he is going to put the Rockies in a heck of a lot of a better spot if he can get back to that 5+ strikeouts a game and get out of those big jams. Location is going to be key for Germán Márquez. Key. Because we saw last year, if he misses, he can hang and it can get banged real bad. Currently, though, in spring training this year for Germán Márquez, 6 innings of work, a whip of .5, 9 strikeouts, hasn't allowed a run yet. That is Germán Márquez. That is a reason to be excited about Germán Márquez. That is the reason to believe in the bounce back potential of Germán Márquez. Speaking of bounce back, speaking of changing things up in a new philosophy, I really liked this piece. We'll read a little bit here from MLB.com and Manny there. I always feel like I'm messing up his name. Randhawa. I feel like I should know. I'm always so bad I feel terrible when I mess up names. But Luxace asks, is Gomber in a rotation? I think so. He has to still earn it, though. But I think Gomber's probably going to make it, especially with Senza still on the bench. I think Gomber's going to be in the rotation. Let's talk Ryan McMahon. Let's talk Rockies more in segment number 3. Want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. If you subscribe to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, you'll know when we go live, and you can be part of the conversation, just like Luxace, Brandon Kramer, and Nicholas Delvo. The loyal Locked On Rockies fans out there tuning in. And, but we know, we see you out there, audio listeners. We appreciate you as well. I appreciate each and every one of you. So we are getting closer and closer to Rockies regular season baseball. 5-2 win for the Rockies against the Cubs last night. Big reason why was Ryan McMahon plating 2. And Ryan McMahon knows it's really good to read stuff like this piece from MLB.com. McMahon hopes to unleash potential with power sharing plan for Manny Randhawa filling in this week. Go read all of it, but this is the type of stuff that you love to hear from a player like Ryan McMahon. Ryan McMahon, I think, understands the stakes for him this season. Yes, he has his deal. So the money part is the money part is settled for him, for a player like him. I think he's got the big contract extension, the dream. Really, I think that's kind of one thing in the career. Of course, you want to be successful in your career and great and MVPs and accolades and for some. But I think a lot of players, they just want to secure that big extension, secure that stability, and feel confident about that. So I think he's got that out of the way. Now he's just focused, and the way he's talked this offseason, the focus on, he kind of knows what the expectations are for him, and he wants to reach them. And I'm really encouraged to hear again how Bam Mullins is coming in here and changing things up. It really does seem like this new hitting philosophy or new hitting coach for the Rockies is really changing mindsets here. And so Bam Bam told Brendan Rodgers, this again is from McMahon hopes to unleash potential with power sharing plan from Manny Randawa on MLB.com. Bam Bam told Brendan Rodgers that there's 100% in terms of power out there. Let the pitcher supply 50% of it. When former Major League slugger Rafael Palmeiro, who belted 569 runs with a smooth and seemingly effortless swing from 1986 to 2005, was brought up, McMahon immediately chimed in with his thoughts on Palmeiro's swing path. It's just short, right? Said McMahon, who has hit 20 or more homers in each of his last and yet hasn't truly tapped into all the power that the Rockies believe in its bat. When it's shorter, you're stronger. As soon as there's a longer path, like thinking about if you're pushing something heavy, right? It's fastest in the short beginning. If you're trying to make it full speed all the way out there, it's going to be tough. Let the pitcher supply the power. Be short to the fastball. McMahon adds later here, I need to trust myself not to be afraid to trust my eyes. If I think it's going to be a good pitch to hit, swing instead of being so selective and picky. In the past, maybe I was firing a little late, just not being aggressive enough. That's been a focus this spring and this whole offseason. Yes. I think McMahon sometimes, I think that is the big issue of McMahon when it comes to his potential. I think it is. It's the just pull the trigger. Just be the guy. Just don't get. It felt like last year there were just instances with Rymack where it's big situation. He's got to be the guy, and then he just starts a bat a little timid. Just like as much as you want good, solid at bats, I really do believe in the aggression. I really do believe that jumping on a pitch, trusting your gut, trusting your intuition. I mean, because above all, that's what you have to do as a hitter, right? I mean, I think that's part of it. Confidence in your abilities and confidence in yourself as a hitter is so much of the battle. So if you're confident, even you know what, maybe you take a big hack and you miss. You know what you're going to hear? That was a healthy hack from Ryan McMahon, and it's 0-1. That's fine. And of course, you don't want to go down on strikes and these things. But man, it's early in the game, or you got runners in scoring position. It's a key moment. You can capture the momentum right there. Fire away. Get after it. I mean, I don't want the Rockies. We really do want the Rockies to be more a disciplined team, and I've talked a lot about cutting down on strikeouts, but strikeouts are still going to happen a lot. It's still baseball in 2023. These pitchers are still insane. They're still really, really good. But I like hearing that Ryan McMahon is opening up to being an aggressor, because I think that's where he can benefit from. I think why a player like DJ LeMahieu was so effective is because of how much he flies under the radar, how much he doesn't say much, how much he doesn't want to be flashy, but he was still aggressive. He was still someone that would jump after a pitch. And Lux Ace, you make a good point. I mean, I don't think they're trying to hit a home run every time. I don't think so either. But especially in the case of someone like DJ, we just need Rymack to be confident to lash a rip one, a line drive single. Just to go after one and just slash something in and drive in a run. Just like you kind of felt like. I just think that Ryan McMahon and DJ LeMahieu can be very comparable players, especially this season. And Ryan McMahon can be a DJ LeMahieu maybe with a little more pop. Maybe not as consistent, not as much height and stuff. But I think there are a lot of consistencies you could probably draw between DJ LeMahieu and Ryan McMahon. And if Ryan McMahon can fill the role that DJ LeMahieu filled in those successful teams for the Rockies, that's a good thing. If the Rockies got DJ LeMahieu type production from Ryan McMahon at second base this season, that's a good thing. That's a great thing for the Rockies. And I just love to hear Ryan McMahon is another player with potential still. This is why there's players like Ryan McMahon are the reason that reminds you the Rockies' ceiling is higher. Reminder, our ceiling is not higher than, mid-70s win team, outside looking in still. But this is a reminder that players like Ryan McMahon can definitely tap in and be something more. The potential is absolutely there. And I really think that, at least from the early signs, Ryan McMahon's been having a good spring, swinging the bat well. And he goes on to and here's what Bud Black has to say. Matt can potentially have 30 homers and 100 RBI. Manager Bud Black says, can it happen? Yes. Is this the year that it happens? I don't know. That's why we play. But is he capable of hitting 30 homers? Yes. Easy. I mean, that's confidence from the manager. You got to feel good in that. And here's the deal. The big theme to close this episode out, if the Rockies get great play from Germán Márquez and Ryan McMahon, the Rockies are going to win those close games, and they're going to be better than people think. Still a lot of work to do from the team, and still there's going to be a lot of work to do, and two players aren't going to change everything. But the Rockies will look better, play better, be a better baseball team than they were in 2022 and it can easily be led by Germán and Ryan McMahon. And if it is, it's a great sign for the Rockies. It really, truly is. Because that means they have the right vets signed for long-term to help them build and have these and get these prospects into their prime and hopefully open up another contention window. Will it pan out? Just like Bud Black says. That's why we play the game. We'll see. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. All you got to do is search Locked On Rockies. Be taken to where you need to go. You can find us on YouTube as well. You can be part of the Locked On Rockies live chat, trying to get that 500 subscriber mark before the start of the season. That would be great. And folks, thank you again so much for tuning in. Now that you made Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day, now go make Locked On Fantasy Baseball your second listen of the day. Or why not check out the Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Buffs, or Locked On Nuggets podcasts, bringing you all sorts of Colorado sports action here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.